Here today to talk about something that's very important, and that's has a lot to do with various things. But I'm gonna try to stick with one topic at a time, and that's shadow work. Shadow work is very important because when you think about shadow work, I can't help but to think about how we need to look deep within ourselves, and not so much to make changes of our shadow side, because you got to remember our shadow side is really us turned inside out. It's like the saying that Beelzebub said once before. I don't know where I got this saying, but it's always been with me for many, many years. Darkness is light turned inside out, by Beelzebub. I forget which form I got that from. But when I use that, it helps me to appreciate that our darker side, you could shed light on it if you may. In fact, you should, because it's therapeutic. And why is that? Well, for myself, I could only speak of how things were when I was a Christian. And what that means is I used to basically find myself looking at, let's say, I'm just thinking about how I could best illustrate this example. Because to be quite honest with you, when I think about my life many years ago before I came into the left hand path, um, a lot of the teachings there, they didn't really teach you to deal with yourself. In fact, they taught you quite the opposite, like celibacy, self control. And for the most part, they are good in nature, but a lot of it could really do a number on you. In fact, fuck you up. What I mean by that is that I remember as I was learning about this Yehovah, um, it wasn't all bad, but a lot of the things that I've learned, I did not like the very idea of certain biblical teachings. So I would look at these biblical teachings and I would to just suppress them. That's pretty much what I did. I would to suppress them because I knew they were not good for me. They were not good for me because of how Christianity taught myself and others included. And you're born to think that way. You're born to do things that way. You're wrong if the subconscious bad thoughts, these sins were to come up, and therefore you're evil. You have to pray it away, pray the devil away, right? He seeks about like a roaring lion, seeking to devour someone, as the saying goes within the foul Bible. But you know what? It's interesting that when I planned on leaving Christianity, all those thoughts came together all at once and they beat the living shit out of me. It's interesting because if I were to look at myself now and compare myself many years ago when I was a Christian, interestingly, it's a funny thing that when I look at how Satan is, he's a better teacher. And what I mean by that is that he's not saying bury everything in your subconscious and pray the devil away. He's saying, no, you want to look at the darkness and shed light on it. And what that means, if you remember what I alluded before, is simply not to make changes, but to envelop that darkness, to become that darkness, to realize that darkness is you. It's just another side of you, just another darker side of you that you need to realize. And that's what happened to me just yesterday. I did some shadow work and I went deep within myself, and I mean very deep. I fell into what felt like my other side. It was almost very closely related to my astral temple. It was nothing but darkness surrounding me. All around me, nothing but fucking darkness. And I'm one on one with myself. And I asked myself, what is the number one thing that I have to face this problem, this situation that I'm up against? What is the solution? How do I take care of it? And just like every other time that I did shadow work, because it works for me, and how it operates is that it simply just came to me and said, and these are just flat out words flashing through my mind as I'm doing shadow work. I'm in a meditative state. I'm really getting into it. And then the words said, just, yes, just trust him. So I did it again just to make sure that I'm not just talking to myself. And this is what I do for a number of times. Every single time I do shadow work. So I know I'm not just talking to myself. And then every single time, friends, I kid you not, those words kept on repeating itself. And that's when I knew it was definitely my shadow self. Because my biggest problem is that when I look at my manifestation, it's not so much that when is it going to be experienced by me. It's not so much. But according to what my darkest side is telling me, I need to trust Satan. And the reason being is that for many years of being taught by Satan, being under his tutelage, Satan has a very dark way of teaching. Not that he's in any way evil, by no means. We're not talking about evil. Evil is like a serial killer killing babies. We're not talking about that. Satan is not evil. What we're talking about is that Satan has a dark way, a dark method by helping us to come to grips with ourselves. It may scare the shit out of us, but you know what? One thing I learned about working with our shadow sides, it is never that Patreon or Satan, Paimon, Lilith, Stolas, whoever it may be that you're working with. It's never them. They're never the source. The source is you, because remember, the darkness is you, and you need to work with that. You need to face yourself and transform it so that you could blend in with it and accept it. And once you do that, you're going to see solutions. Because now I look at my manifestation. It's not about when I'm going to get it, because I think too much about the 4 to 5 year plan of manifestation. Because if you do a money spell and then you think about the world that's all around you and it's a really big spell, obviously it's going to take more time for it to change your life. But I've learned not to stick with it strictly speaking. And I repeat, not to stick with it strictly, meaning not to look at the 4 to 5 year plan and go, that's it, that's how long I have to wait. Because once you do that, you just screwed yourself over. Because let's just say it doesn't take 4 to 5 years, it takes a little bit longer. If you're a stickler like I was, you would have saw yourself hurt, as if you've been stabbed many times all over your body with the fucking knife and you're emotionally hurt. Leave your emotions out of it. When you do shadow work, when you listen to that darker version of yourself, it is going to explain to you, so to speak, the lighter side of things. And the solution that I came up with by looking at my shadow side, by enveloping it within myself, is that yes, I have to trust Satan. And by doing that simply means I have to leave my emotions out of it. I have to look at what is coming my way and not to be too obsessive over it. Not to be obsessive. And the reason why I say not to be obsessive over it is because once you're in that state of mind, now you're not going to be aware of what you're doing. Meaning you can have worry, doubt, and mistrust in what you do. And you don't want to have any of those negativity permeating your mind, your temple, your circle, because that is just going to cause resistance to your manifestation. That's not good. So the solution to that is not just putting that on hold. Try to get rid of that the best you can. Be present in the moment. Look within yourself and see how this alchemical process could change you. And you're going to be surprised about the results. Here's another thing from my experience. When I did shadow work just yesterday on March the 11th, what ended up happening was that when those words flashed through my mind, yes, trust him, I was overrun with emotion. I had a lot of bliss all inside of me. And it felt good. It felt very, very good. But I knew better. I knew not to allow the emotions to get the best of me because once it gets to the head gets too big. And I've learned not to be too negative about myself because the negativity keeps you down. And you don't want that because now you're out of the left hand path and I don't want to stop making these videos. And that's what negativity does. So what did I do? I had to keep myself grounded and keep emotions out of it and look at it for what it is. It's not a time for change, like I said before, but it's a time of refinement. How could I refine myself and look at this as a tool, as a means to better oneself? And boy, did I love that answer. I've learned to look at what I do as a occultist and say, whatever happens, happens. I know, like, in the state of knowing it's going to happen. But I leave myself open by saying, if it doesn't happen within 4 to 5 years, I know that's just a theory. But if it goes on a little longer, then so be it. Because regardless, you're going to get what you want, friends. But the best thing about manifesting anything, doing your black magic, do know there is a level of difficulty with it. What I mean by that is when you think about whatever magic you're doing, do know you're going to be caught up in it. I just did a little bit of the shadow work. And I kid you not. I kid you not. It was about 11 at night. And I couldn't get any sleep. Because the problem wasn't Satan. It wasn't any of my Patreons. It was me. I kept on venting. I vent so much, friends, that it put me to sleep. I woke up today, which is March 12th, 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning, venting. That's why they say when you do shadow work, don't think that once you acknowledge it with open arms and then you show it love and then you work with it, you incorporate it within yourself and then you try to become with it and then you acknowledge it. Don't think like that's it. Because what happens, any form of magic, even if it's at a lighter state like that of shadow work, you have to, and again, and I repeat, you have to realize there's going to be a level of difficulty. There's going to be a level of change in your life. And as little as that may be a lighter form of magic, I was venting. Because that means throughout the 4 to 5 years that I've been trying to process this manifestation, this money spell, alchemically within me, I was suppressing a lot of negative thoughts. But it came to the surface. It had to been worked out. No wonder when I woke myself up 4 to 5 a.m. in the morning, I wasn't basically let's say talking shit to Satan, but it was almost as if it was therapeutic, that it had to come out. It had to come out. And around that time my phone kind of went off, and it helped me to appreciate that something good had happened. And I'm going to leave that for later on in the video. But I knew it was good. And that gave me a sign of hope. It actually keyed me in to come back into reality. Because working with my shadow self on the 11th of March, it just crossed over into the 12th. And here I am still talking. I'm venting and I'm trying to really put everything into focus, to only realize that I'm still on the right path. And the reason why I say that is that despite all that venting, all that trying to get out all that negative thinking, I was thinking within myself that perhaps this is time for me to just leave the left-hand path. Maybe I did something wrong. You know how it is when you're stuck in your head. You think of all these negative things. Because after all, I am venting. So you think all these things. To only realize, no, I'm not. I'm not leaving the left-hand path. I'm just venting. Hell, at that moment, I felt that Satan himself was not mad at me. He knew the whole picture. He knew that what is going on is just an alchemical process. It wasn't toward him. He had done nothing. All I did was try to fix what was right in front of me. And I did exactly that. But like I said before, when you do magic like this, either it be a little lighter, heavy, whatever, there's going to be some sort of backlash. And a backlash it was. But now I get to the point that I looked at my text message. I looked at my text message and I saw that I had a new subscriber to the channel. It made me smile. It made me smile because my message is getting across to someone out there. And you know what's so funny? That person wasn't here in the States. And I thought that was very phenomenal for me. It was phenomenal because that means someone clicked on my channel and they connected with what I had to say. And what we all believe in the left-hand path about Satan and the demons that we work with. Because, friends, to be quite honest with you, the type of trip that I was on by venting was realistic. I mean, that shadow work, though I had the solution, it wasn't the end. It continued on to the next day, like I told you, like today. It's 1 p.m. right now. 4 to 5 a.m. today, I was just talking a lot of shit, venting. But I had to get rid of all that venting. I had nothing but solutions come left and right, left and right, left and right. And I was able to face myself. Granted, no one is able to look at another person and go, it's going to take a week for you to get over it. It's going to take a year. You don't know that. All I know is that when I do shadow work, up until this point, shadow work has been taking relatively a shorter time than from what I see other individuals who do shadow work. It's my experience. So I was able to face it, envelop within it, and go on from there. But you know what? I'm going to make another separate video when it comes to the other stuff that I want to talk about. Because I want to keep this under 20 minutes. Because I have to do a lot of editing, of course. But I want this to go out there so that other people know that when you do shadow work and that negative floodgate just open up and it just rushes you, you're not alone. You're not alone. You're not going crazy. It's needed. Open that negativity, so to speak, with open arms. If you have to vent, vent. Don't take it out on no one. Be safe when you do it. Calm yourself down. Go into your astral temple if you need to. Do whatever it is that you need to do to make sure that as you're doing this, the people around you and you yourself are safe. But do know any form of magic that you do, there's going to be some sort of backlash. Something as, I won't say as simple, but when we think about shadow work, do know you have to contend with your negative side. So with that said and done, I hope this video encourages you all. And I hope that if you have any questions, leave a comment. That's my personal experience. You can leave your experience down below. And we could share, we could chat with the rest of the family here on the Patch Them Bogad channel. But with that said and done, I love you all. Continue to subscribe. Smash that like button. Helps me out a lot. And it keeps me doing what I'm doing now. I love you all. Hail Satan. Bye.